All right. Hey there. Welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the entire universe, the mighty Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. This is SharkCast Pod, our 10th season of podcasting for you lovely people, guys and girls of all ages, all around the world. And we sure do appreciate the fact that you do tune in. And there's nothing more we love doing than bringing you some Sharks entertainment. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Mighty Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. You have been in touch. There is some mail to get through. SharkCastPod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, TikTok. And we also have some merch. If you want to get some merch, rugbyleaguemerch.com. But we're here to talk about all things Cronulla Sharks. And I'm with one of our favorites. He's a regular. He is Mr. Joshua Bolling. You know him from having first dates at the pub when Sharks games are on. And he's got a whole lot of other things going for him. But that's kind of the highlight of this month, I reckon. Josh Bolling, how are you, my friend?
Very well, Sam. Very happy after another win. Living in the greatest patch of the world, supporting the best team in the world.
Yeah, well said. And that's what we're here to do. We were down there. There was almost 13,000 people watching the game. Fan-friendly 6 o'clock kickoff. Well, fan-friendly for some people anyway. And a good win, 25-6 over Canterbury Bankstown. Tight for a while, 6-6 for a while, but Sharks ran away with it in the second half like we thought they would. And overall, a really fantastic performance. Not too many negatives at all. Really strong display defensively, obviously. And the attack flowed when it needed to. But Josh, I'm so happy with this year so far. Like there's no complaints, there's no qualms, there's no issues, and everything's going to plan.
No, exactly right. Obviously, there's always little things here and there that could be better, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, 2 out of 2, 2 really good wins. Most of the team's pretty healthy. They look really happy. Club's settled off the field. I mean, there's not much more we could really ask for as fans, to be honest.
Absolutely. And I know that the more pessimistic fans of ours are waiting for something to happen, but you can keep waiting because we're on a good patch here, and it's all about the football. It's all about winning on the field, and that's how the coach likes it, and that's how we like it as fans. When your biggest beef of the week is who's going to play second row for 2 weeks against 2 average teams, I'm here for it. Great defense from the Sharks. We saw 1 try against us, I believe, Josh, when we were down to 12 men, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and even then, we were sort of hard to crack. And we're starting games okay, but from the 20-minute mark on, we get really serious. So we saw against the Warriors, looking a little dodgy there, ran away with it. Bulldogs, not looking dodgy at all, just conceded a try with 12 men, went on with it in the second half, and okay, maybe we can improve on those starts. But if that's how they're going to handle the situation, I don't really have a problem with that either. I think that you're going to be hard pressed to find a team that plays perfect for 80 minutes every week. The Panthers don't do it, the Storm don't do it, the Roosters don't do it. Like, it's hard to do week in, week out. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, Josh, how we start games. But I thought just an all-round great performance. Again, some of the guys that stood out, despite what you might read in the kind of, Dally M's and that kind of stuff, the guys that stood out were, again, your Will Kennedys, your Sifatala guys. The lesser poster boys for the team really standing up. Blake Brayley had a great game. No one played bad, but really good to see that some of the spine in particular are standing up. Braden Trindle, again, a great game. And I thought an interesting stat I found, Josh, was Nico Hines barely has a try assist this year, and he's getting man of the match awards. And I'm not saying he shouldn't, but he's getting them for his overall performance. So we're yet to see him strike an attack, and we're still 2 from 2.
Yeah, and that was something I wanted to raise today was our best player and arguably one of the best players in the comp has yet to really fire a significant shot in terms of stats. If you like you said, there's no try assist next to his name, there's no try next to his name, but that doesn't mean he's not playing well and that he's
No.
not having a massive influence on those tries that we do score. If you look, I mean, for example, for Braden Trindle's first try, that is Nico Hines' try assist. You know, like he's the
Yep.
one that sets that play up coming off his right when
Yep.
he ducks back into the play the ball area, comes back off his right, drags in the defense, pops the ball to Teague Wilton, and he's through. Like that's his try assist, but it's not going to go down on the stat sheet. He's playing incredibly well, I think, at the moment, and those things will come. He'll still end up with a bunch of tries and try assists this year.
Absolutely.
And he's kicking goals too.
Yeah. Yeah, and defending really well. We've seen him 2 games in a row now defending really physically, playing physically. He's straight in there when there's a bit of hustle and bustle with all the players. It's a really good sign that he's so heavily involved. And another great attacking performance in the second half from Cronulla. 7 line breaks to 3, double the offloads, 100 more kick meters, way less missed tackles as well. So everything's trending really well. It's early days. There are still things to fix up, and we all know that. But it's the benefit of hard work over summer. We saw on the weekend Toby Rudolph and a few other guys come out and just say all they did was defend, and we defended on the edge all summer long. There was barely attack done. It was all defense. And I love that. I love that there's a line drawn in the sand. 2 years in a row, kicked out of the finals when you shouldn't have been. How do you fix it? Fix it with your defense. So some really good signs there. Who for you stole the show? Who was your 3-2-1s? Who'd you love out there?
Oh, I've got to go with my man Teague again. I think that 2 weeks in a row he's been my man of the match. Just started this year like 100 miles an hour. And hopefully, I mean, we all hope that he can keep that up. But the standard he has set early in this season is just, I think it's even above where I probably expected him to be at this point in his career. I've always had, the opinion that I think he's Origin level. And I think he's just putting that case forward even more so to start the year. I thought Blake had a strong game. I was impressed with his service, as always. Ran a few more times. His defense was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Ronaldo and Siffer, again, just that combination with Nico, Teague, Siffer, Ronaldo. It's just what a powerhouse edge. And Kennedy, I think, has been probably a little underrated these first 2 weeks, not by maybe yourself or a couple of the other boys, but he's been lights out. I mean, that run he made off that catch and went, 50 meters was just like in awe. Had such a fun time watching them. And I said this to one of my mates that I think at the game, I felt like we were under the pump more than probably we realistically were. After watching the game back on TV, like we were really in control of that game from about the 20th minute mark. And that second half was really impressive.
Yeah. So on Teague Wilton, 1 try, 110 meters, 5 tackle busts, 27 tackles. He's playing like he's catching up from last year. It's like he realized he missed out on a bunch of footy, and here we go. We're back on, and he's killing it. I'm looking at the team list, Josh, in all seriousness. Like, there's not even close to a player that had a substandard game. Like, not even close. I couldn't even pick one who was near that, to be completely unbiased and just telling it how it is. Looking at the stats, thinking about the game, 1 to 17, they all did a job. And Will Kennedy, phenomenal again, close to man of the match again for me. David Peachy was in the house. He was standing right by you. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, you let me know, and I was looking out for him. The great man.
There. He was right by you, and Kennedy has always had that associated with him because of probably his culture and the position he plays. But the more and more he plays, the more you're seeing that style come in, and it's a beautiful thing. And he's been rock solid for a number of years now, and for whatever reason, there was always some criticism about him. I don't know particularly why, but at the moment he's untouchable, and we need that. We need a strong spine. We've said that all summer, and we've got one. The wingers were great. I think Katoa's sort of under the radar a bit because his mate Ronaldo is just killing it, and we needed him to kill it because last year, as we said, not his greatest year. He's had 2 almost career best games, running for 200 meters, and loves scoring tries at Shark Park. Our centers are unbelievable. Jesse Ramian also flying under the radar because of the Talakai effect. But Jesse Ramian was one of the best out there, man. He was all over the field. He was physical, big meters, and he's the go-to man when it's kick chase. He's the go-to man for physicality out there. Just a really strong footballer. And then Talakai, you know all about him. He's just killing it on one leg, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's doing the damn thing. He's just it's so unfair how talented he is for that size of a man. Like, and just on Ramian, so I wanted to go back. What about that offload for that try assist? Like, not many guys can do that. Like, he's always had that in his locker, but he just looks. There's like a different kind of mean in him at the moment.
Yeah.
Like he's never been bad, like in terms of the overall season. He's had quieter seasons, but this year he's just come out like someone's, threatened his family or something, because he's just in everything. And whenever there's a scuffle, whenever there's, a bit of argy-bargy or whatever, he's one of the first guys in there defending his players. I don't know if someone, sent a mean letter to Reid Marnie's family over the weekend, but he wanted to fight everyone, and I loved the restraint that we took. We stood up for ourselves, or we didn't carry on with it. Yeah. And I really like that, because maybe last year or the year before, maybe someone carries on too much. Really funny to watch though, that little Reid Marnie after missing 15 tackles.
I know the coaches are all over the fact that a lot of teams, maybe not every team, but a lot of teams have one of those people. You sort of look at the weak link as far as psychology goes or whatever. And so for the Sharks, you might say something like, let's bait Ronaldo. I don't mean like saying mean words or whatever, but just he's the guy you want to get upset because he's got a penalty in him. He's got an error in him. And every team kind of has the weaker link in that aspect only. And obviously for Canterbury, it's him. And he he didn't even fall for it because he was sort of starting it.
Yeah.
And it was just ridiculous. And as soon as they started that stuff, I just sat back and I thought, there's no way we're going to lose this. There's no way. Because in 2024, that's not how you win games. You don't win games by going out there and being like the best sledger or whatever. Like, I know Ennis did that, but Ennis backed it up by being a 9 out of 10 hooker. I mean, this fella's a 7 at best. He's solid, but not much more. So that was an interesting part of the game. And then, let's just keep going, man. The halves, I thought Trindle again had a fantastic game, great kicking game. I love the fact that he's doing the 1%ers. He's diving on the loose balls. His defense is pretty good at the moment, which is great. I mean, he's always been a strong defender for a little guy. And Nico Hines having a great game defensively. Both are kicking well. They're getting the team around the park. And I think they're just allowing the tries to happen when they do. I don't think they're pushing it too much. Maybe that's the thing. Nico's been pushing so hard for 2 years. Maybe to start the year, he wants to sit back and see what the team can do without him having to sort of go hell for leather the whole time. Before we go on the forwards, Joshy, I do want to mention a part of our gameplay that I'm loving. And you mentioned it before with the offload from Ramian to Katoa. The way the players are pushing up, probably in the opposition half more than anywhere, there's always players in motion. And teams talk about that, and they might do it for a while. We're doing it for the whole game. And it's particularly working when we're scoring tries. A number of our tries this year have come from last-minute offloads and players just being there to back up. We saw it with Ronaldo to Teague Wilton. We saw it with Remy and Katoa. I think we saw one last week. The way they're backing up for each other, that hasn't always been the case. And even with long breaks, I mean, when Teague made the break from the Nico assist, who's there? Trindle's there. It's a new part of what we're doing. It's really, really working.
It's a great point, Sam, as well, because when you look at the Wilton try at the end, there was about 3 blokes there that could have scored that try. We had 3 guys there to the Dogs 0 because Trindle was there. Trindle was came from the other side of the field to support that break, and then was there for the offload as well. So both tries, Trindle has gone 100 miles an hour to get across there to be a support play, and that's a great testament to not only the whole team but to Trindle as well. His support play is superb, as any half should be. But yeah, you look on that Wilton try, Trindle's there, Talakai's there, and Wilton are all there, and any one of them could have scored if one or the other wasn't there. I just think that support play is so crucial, because when you play football, when you watch football, players in motion is so hard to defend, because you've got one guy either side of you, and you're trying to figure out who's got who am I marking, who's running, what's Nico doing, and before you know it, we've popped an offload, and you've already been sucked in on defensively. So it's so hard to contain. The offload in the modern day is so crucial, and we missed the trick last year by not doing it enough, and we suffered a lot because we were conceding so many. So it's really good to see that we've tried to wrap the ball up defensively, and we're popping more.
Yeah, and for a team that historically, recent history-wise, doesn't have the biggest forward pack, it's a way around it, because you don't have to have the biggest, baddest guy making the 10, 15-meter hit-ups if you got guys in motion, and you've got, 5'11" McInnes making 10-meter runs based on, people outside of him and whether to go to or not. So really nice part of the way we're playing this year. Toby Rudolph started the game. He was great. Played half an hour all up, so he's still recovering from that toe, but he was really strong again. We spoke about Blake. He's engaging the line more. He's running more. He's doing his best to get more penalties. And so far, it's working for him. I don't think too many people can complain about him where they have in the past. I think he's really bringing it. He's got to keep doing it, but I really like what I see from him. Oregon Kafusi, he's starting games really well, Josh. I think that for the time being, like Borelli's not back for Ueli's not back for a little while, so he hasn't done anything to lose that spot, Kafusi, and it's going to be interesting to see if he keeps a bench spot or not when we move forward and everyone's fit. We saw Britt play 70 minutes. He had some time off in the first half, and unfortunately he's going to miss 2 weeks. That kind of put a bit of a dent on his game and the game itself. But, just got to move forward with that. We spoke about Teague. Cam McInnes was fantastic again, played 50 minutes, and he was just electric the whole time. Ran for 123 meters, 25 tackles. And probably the guy that's been under the most pressure from the fans, Joshy, Dale Finucane, ended up playing the most minutes out of the middles, ironically, for a guy that hasn't trained for the year. Dale Finucane, 42 minutes, 120 meters, 25 tackles. Tell me about Dale's game.
Really strong, actually. I'm really happy for him. I know it's only the Bulldogs and they don't have the strongest middle, so there's that. But also, you've got to pay credit where it's due. I thought he was really strong. And it's like what Fitz said in the press conference. He feels safe when he's out there. When we get this Dale Finucane, I feel safe when he's out there, because he's just swapping with McInnes, right? So it's like we're having our 2 safest, most experienced, headstrong guys out there all the time. I thought he was really impressed. His defense was really strong too, and his energy just looked. He got a run last week, and he was rusty. He wasn't good, but I thought he was much more improved and better for the run. I think Fitz said he could have played that whole second half if he needed him to. So really strong signs. Now we need to see it again and again and again. I want to see it for a month straight, and I haven't completely written him off. And after that, I'm really impressed. But I want to see it against a tougher opposition for sure. But mate, happy to be wrong about Dell if he keeps playing like that.
We saw Jack Williams with another strong game, as per. Tall Tom Hazelton had a really strong game, some really nice runs, almost 100 meters for him in half an hour. And probably the star of the show was Tukuha Tapua on debut for the Sharks. He played a few games for the Roosters, but on debut for us, he got 11 minutes. And in 11 minutes, he made 5 runs for 46 meters, 4 tackle busts, 5 tackles, no misses, and generally just looking beast-like and scary out there. And he's one for the future for sure, Josh.
Oh yeah, it was. He lifted the crowd when he came on for that first one. I think everyone was kind of like, okay, what's this guy got? Who is this guy? Maybe because a lot of people were saying. And then after that first run, you knew who he was because he looked like a man amongst boys when he went out there. He's a big man, and I mean the knock on him apparently is that the motor and the engine isn't great, but he's still only like 21 or 22 years old. That will come for what we got out of him from 11 minutes. Man, it felt like he was out there for 20, the way he was just ripping them apart.
I think that reputation has left a little bit because he had a very strong summer down there, and they're all pretty impressed with him. The rumor is this week he will play for the Jets, and he'll play some big minutes with the Jets to keep that going. And then when he's needed, he'll come back up. I mean, I personally wouldn't let him leave. I would let him play in the 17 again, but he is going to be at this stage playing for the Jets. But just a fantastic debut for him for the Sharks. One he'll remember, one as fans that will remember. And as I said at the start, Josh, no weak links, no badness. And even when they were down to 12 men, it wasn't a disaster.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, didn't Blake make his really big run off the back of that Tukes run?
I think so. It was, yeah.
And that's the thing. When Blake gets that opportunity, when that platform is laid for him, you often see him not take those runs, but he did it. And it's like, dude, if we can lay the platform for him with like Adam Fanua-Blake next year, just leaving blokes lying around everywhere, and then Blake can take off from that, his game is going to go to another level. Now, I think there's no coincidence that when we started dominating the middle of the ruck, we saw more of Blake getting out, engaging marker, bringing his forwards onto the ball, taking some runs. Like he can do it.
Yeah, he can. We completed 34 of 41, so not too bad there, and missed 29 tackles, which in the scheme of things, and given that the Dogs had a lot of ball in the first half, not a disaster. I mean, you can bring that down, of course, but only conceded the one try. They had 32 tackles in our 20, Josh. We conceded one try. So that's pretty good stuff all around. There is really not much to complain about. I know it wasn't the greatest opposition. There's not much we can do about that. How was your game day experience?
Oh, great. I mean, the first game back's always pretty special. Like driving down to the game and the walk from the car, like seeing just hundreds and thousands of people walking down a beautiful Friday afternoon. Just like you get that feeling like you're a kid again, walking down to the footy, and being back in my corner where I love to be, and getting a drink, having a hot dog, and then I was disappointed that Kickstart My Heart didn't play. I can't lie.
Well, there's a bit of mail about that, so we can hold off on that one.
Okay, I'll hold off on that. But just it was beautiful weather as well, like picturesque, beautiful Cronulla.
Yeah.
And just I love coming down after each year and seeing the progress of the development going around the back. I got to see a bunch of people, like I saw yourself, and got to see TK, the great man, and a couple of mates. It was just, it's where I want to be all the time. I just want to be at Shark Park watching the boys. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I had a good day. Yeah, it was nice. We hit the brewery before for a couple of drinks, and then we headed down with plenty of time, and it was cool, man. It was cool. The place was rocking, and it was it was one of the better nights in a long time. So we'll talk more about that later on. But
how good's the when Tommy Hazelton comes on, the crowd just the murmurs start going around in his first run. Everyone's just right behind him, and then Tukes as well. Like the crowd really lifted when those two came on.
Yeah, and I think that's the positive in having such a small crowd that's capacity. Everyone wants to be there. There's not too many stragglers who are there to talk about their day, then have that in the background. Like, obviously, there'll be some people who do that, and that's fine. I'm not knocking that, but there are a lot of diehards there, is what I'm saying. A lot of season ticket holders, members, and that's what you get, Josh. You get people who are invested in the players, and they're waiting for the tall bald man to come out, and he didn't disappoint, and I think that's a real advantage that they need to take advantage of the most is the home ground thing. I've said it a few times now. If you win every game at home, you're on your way. So I honestly see no reason in losing a game there. I know we're playing Penrith there.
Let's beat them.
There's no reason to lose. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I've got this attitude about this year. It's just like there's literally no excuses. It's like,
I agree.
if you get beaten on the day, then you get beaten by a better team, because there's just no excuses. Like, I know we've had, I don't know, even on the show, we've looked to sort of make it a bit lighter for everyone. Like, oh, well, we should have won, but we didn't. We had a great time, and it's been a good year, and we're building. It's like, well, we're still building. I still believe that. Like, I still think that possibly next year is the year, but there's no reason this year, for starters, to lose at home. I'm not suggesting that I think that we're the best team in the comp and that we should be favourite to win the comp.
No.
I'm not, I wouldn't, like, I follow the game too closely to say something as big as that. But what I will say is we've got a really good team with a really good coach, and it's a team on the rise. They're young, they're hungry, they all like each other. That's a huge advantage. They all like each other. There's no
Unlike some other clubs.
Yeah, there's no in-house fighting. Like, they all actually like each other. And you win every game at home. You win a bunch on the road. Okay, you're probably not going to win every, but do your best, get there, and then go for it. And then, if you lose in a finals game, we can address that. But I just think the challenge right now is just to get there and finish in a really nice spot. I know it's only 2 games in. I know people are saying, "What are you talking about?" But I guess I just want to bring this attitude that there's no excuses. Like as happy a podcast as this is sometimes, there's no excuses. Like, there's no excuse not to go to Leichhardt and win. Put it that way.
Yeah, 100%.
And you don't have to win by 50. You don't have to win by 20. Go win by 1 in Golden Point. You just got to win.
Especially early season, the more you win now, the less you have to win later. I know that sounds really silly and obvious, but look at what it did to the Cowboys last year, and South the opposite. If you start on fire and you start to believe your own press, it falls away. The Cowboys, they lost too many games, and it was too much for them to catch up at the end of the year. Even though they were playing finals level football, it was too much to catch up on. And that's why you just bank these wins now. The form and the attack will come. Just get them in the bank, and then we can address, how we're playing later on.
And that's what happened in the Premiership year. I know we didn't win every game to start with, but we pretty much started on our way early enough. Okay, a miraculous record-breaking run of wins. Not once in a lifetime, but once in a generation kind of thing. Yeah. But what it did was, it meant when we had our 4-game slump, it didn't matter. We still finished top 4. We got on with it. So every win is important. Absolutely. Joshy, we're going to do a few live reads for ads. So bear with me here. But it's important stuff, because we are sponsored by Dyson Logistics. They've been with us since day one. They offer tailored and reliable end-to-end logistics services. They have a thoughtful and careful approach to freight and custom requirements, ensuring your delivery gets there in one piece quickly, efficiently, and affordably. So their motto is local service delivered globally, and it's what they strive for each day. Dedicated staff, professionals, vast experience. I've used them personally, Josh, and they're awesome. They are also lifelong Sharks fans. They are season ticket holders, and you can get in touch with them 028 339 1844 or dysonlogistics.com to get all of your information about that wonderful service. And now, Josh, we have the news, and there's a bit going around about the lower grades. The Newtown Shark Jets won 28-16 in the curtain raiser against Canterbury. Did you see any of that, Josh?
No, I didn't get a chance. I was pretty busy over the weekend, actually, so I haven't seen too much of anything besides first grade, which I'm not happy about.
That's how life is, my friend. It's
Yeah.
all good. They had a good win. They're now playing West at Lidcombe on Sunday. And of note, Cade Dykes returns playing fullback.
Very interesting.
So I don't think he's going to get a shot at fullback anytime soon. But I guess what he needs is to get some runs in the legs, and he's had a lot of time off. So we hope that he gets through it in one piece, and the rest will come over time. But welcome back, Cade Dykes. The Lisa Fiala girls won 30-14 over Penrith. It was their second win in a row and second win of the season. Tasha Gale won 48-4 against Penrith. And marking off a really good day out there, the SG Ball won 28-22. They're still in the hunt for the finals. Always makes me laugh, Josh. The finals in the lower grades start in April or whatever. We also had the Harold Matthews had a bye. And unfortunately, Jersey Flegg were beaten soundly by the Bulldogs in round 2 of the competition, 34-8. They take on West Tigers at Lidcombe at 12 on Sunday. We know that Britton Nickera will miss 2 matches, entering an early guilty plea for a grade 2 careless high tackle. Did you realize what was going on, Josh, at the time when all that went down?
I had absolutely no idea. I knew it was obviously wasn't good when they stopped. I thought maybe someone injured or whatever, and then I saw him blow the penalty. Isn't that ridiculous that they can pull up play nearly a minute later? Like, not only were we halfway through a set, the Bulldogs played 2 more tackles, and then we got the ball back and started playing again, and then we got penalised. Like, I have no problem with sin binning after the fact. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with them giving them the penalty after they've missed it. And they go, oh, sorry, we've missed that. We're going to go back. Like, do those stats count now? Like, what, the ramifications are a little weird.
It depends how you look at it. I know that the way we do it, I think I'm correct in saying, is that the positive stats remain. So the team that wasn't penalised, the Bulldogs, I think their stats remain. Our stats possibly don't. That's how we kind of do it. But it is troubling that no one saw it except for the guy upstairs. That's a bit weird. I mean, we were all watching the game. It happened right in front of me, and I'm not a great judge, but no one saw anything. And I'm not saying that, like, there was something in it. I'm not saying that he didn't do something wrong, but yeah, the whole stopping of the game. I mean, I guess if we reverse it and it was one of our guys getting hit, we probably wouldn't care. So,
well, I think I would though. Like, I honestly do, because like I fully say yes. Go back and send him off or sin bin him. Yes, but it's like you've missed it live. You now play on. You can't not send him off because of play going on. But you shouldn't be able to be penalised and then have the whole minute of the game taken back. Like, does the minute go back on the clock? Like, what the hell? It's just ridiculous.
So you're saying just sin bin him and that's it?
Yeah, just sin bin. Say sorry, we've missed it. He's sin binning. They're still getting an advantage, but we're playing on from this point. You can't go back and penalise that late.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Joshy, there is news, and it relates to one of our other great sponsors, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. I know you're aware of this, but a lot of our listeners are not. But this is going to like trend around the world. Hashtag garlic bread is going to trend around the world. And it's not a good trend. It's not a good hashtag. So, breaking news, and just bear with us. So just let me say it. And then after that, I'll say what I'm going to say. From here on in, at the Royal Motor Yacht Club, if you say SharkCast, to the people you're ordering your food from, do not expect free garlic bread. The free garlic bread is over. It's no more. And we appreciate all the garlic bread that we have been given, but it's no more. And it's just one of those things. And there's new catering coming in, which I'm going to tell you about. They still sponsor us. They still love us. We love them. There's just no more garlic bread. And so we're going to remind you a few times in the coming weeks that the garlic bread baby is no more. And so my promise to you is, if you see me down there and I'm hanging out at the Royal Motor Yacht Club like I do, come up to me and say, Shinaz, you owe me a garlic bread, and I'll buy you a garlic bread. That's my promise to you. Unless there's like 30 of you, then I might not do it. But for one or two people, absolutely. But we do want to talk about, just briefly, Josh, at the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, there's a new catering service. They're called the Gallery. No, they're called the Galley. I apologize, Liam. They're called the Galley at the Royal Motor Yacht Club. And it's Chef Dom, who used to be at the Greenery at the Cronulla Golf Club. They had to finish up there, but now they're at the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. The Galley, member discounts still apply. Member account sales are still active. You just can't get free garlic bread. Book online, rmycph.com.au, or via your membership app, or you can go old school and call them on 9523 9300. So I hope you got all that. If you're under any confusion, let me know and I'll fill you in. But no more garlic bread, and I apologize vastly. From one bit of bad news to the good bit of news, we've got some mail to get through. And Josh, this is from Adam, and he said, my wife, who wouldn't know a football from her elbow, I hope she's not listening, went into the new shops at Shark Park and rang me to tell me how great they are. She was going on about it, and she's a Sharks shopping fan now. So that's some positive news from the Sharks. I've heard a bit of negativity from down there, as you do in this world. Have you been down there yet, Josh?
I haven't yet. Apparently I missed the email that I was one of the members allowed to park in there for game day.
Oh, beautiful.
But I didn't see it till about 20 minutes ago. But I haven't been down there yet. No. Is it any good?
I have not participated in being a shopping person there yet, but I've heard mixed reports, to be completely honest. I've heard that the supermarket's really great. So I'll let people make up their own minds about it. And to be fair, I haven't been there, so I'm not going to obviously comment on it. But looking forward to getting down there. I'm actually really looking forward to when everything opens up. There's more restaurants, there's more places to drink, there's more Leagues Club action coming. So I'm looking forward to that. Blake says, first correspondence of the year for me. Others will go into detail about the game. All I'll say is that's the exact kind of footy I was expecting when we hired Fitz. The biggest issue of the day, though, we don't run out to kickstart my heart anymore. Funny, they say you don't miss something until it's gone. I'm not sure if Here Comes the Boom by Nelly quite does it for me, but it could potentially grow on me. What are your thoughts? So, Blake, I can't tell you what I was doing when they ran out, because I was just standing up, clapping, talking to my friend, whatever. Here comes Dale. Didn't even have my phone out or anything. And I know I'm the guy, I'm the song guy, going on about for 10 years. I think because I'd heard a rumor they were doing Motley Crue song, I just didn't think about it. And I said to Kieran next to me, I said, oh, did they play Motley Crue? And I can't even remember what he said. But, and if you heard the podcast afterwards, that would make a lot of sense. But everyone's saying they played Nelly. Did you hear it, Josh, for your own ears?
Straight away. It really stuck out like a sore thumb to me, but that's because I really like us running out to that song. It just didn't amp me up as much as I wanted to. Like, obviously I was pumped, and it doesn't really matter that much, but I was like, I love hearing that little wind up and the guitar come in and they run out when the music kicks in, and it was just like, it's just like some beat or some song I've never heard of. Like, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, you weren't aware of the song?
Oh, I think I've heard of it, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was or anything besides it being mentioned now. But like, yeah, Here Comes the Boom or something. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's no Motley Crue.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get the licensing issues here. This is it here. Does that sound like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's cool for like a promo or something, that kind of song, but to run out for your first game of the year, it's like, no.
Well, I don't want to like speak for the club, but usually the first song of the year is the song they have every week they come out. So you might need to get used to it. But I've been quietly petitioning for a certain song, and I've been dropping it into the podcast, talking about it. And you know what? I don't even really care at this point. It is Tom Petty's "I Won't Back Down." And I know that there's a college team, probably a million college teams. There's one in particular that sing it, and they run out to it, and there's 100,000 people singing along. It's amazing. It's an amazing song. Anyway, I love Tom Petty. "I Won't Back Down" is an amazing way to play your football, run your club. And I know for a fact that they've been playing it in the dressing rooms. So
Okay.
I really, really want them to start using that in a public sense. Maybe it's like their private song, and for some reason they've got to have a private song and a public song. I don't really know about that, but it was interesting getting this feedback from a few people about Nelly. And I will say, though, that the players probably approved it. So we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, but they all, like, a lot of those guys love all the R&B and stuff, and that's probably how that gets them pumped. I'm just being selfish. Like, I need a bit of rock and roll or something to get me going. But it's fine.
All right.
It's
All right. We'll stay tuned. We won't give up the fight. We won't back down. Next up, we have Alan, and he says, "I was wrong about Finucane. He had a much improved showing on Friday. On the game, the side again showed composure and determination, a lot of stamina to keep the Dogs scoreless for 68 minutes. Fitzy looks like he's found a winner in Tukuha Tapua. Only made a cameo, but showed enough with his size and pace to suggest the bench will have to perform well week to week to keep him out." So some positivity there from Alan, which is great. Alan did write previously, the email unfortunately didn't make it to air, but he wrote a pretty scathing report about Dale Finucane, which he's admitting to, and I didn't have the heart to read it out for lots of different reasons. And I'm glad that Alan backed down. We'll just say that. Peter says, "Long time listener, first time caller." We love those. Welcome, Peter. Welcome to being a first time caller. A few thoughts on the game day experience. Why are we playing the opposition sound effects after they score? Go to Panthers or Combank and the away team gets nothing but silence. It should be a cauldron. Teams should hate coming to Shark Park. Give them nothing. Now, can you confirm this, Josh? You're the man near the big speakers. Are they playing sound effects?
I don't recall anything. I mean, they only scored one time, to be fair, but I don't recall. I'm assuming Peter's correct.
I'm assuming he's correct
yeah,
too. Yeah,
but I don't recall. I was probably down in the dumps after they'd scored and not paying attention.
I don't know why they would, aside from maybe just building up the atmosphere. There were some Dogs fans in the house. I can't answer that. I can look into it for you, Peter. I can't really answer it. Why don't we have the tackle count on the big screens? That's a good question. It's not a direct, I guess, feed from Fox or Channel 9 in the sense that the graphics are different for whatever reason. Maybe it must be for copyright reasons or whatever. Maybe the Sharks or the NRL clubs don't have to pay extra to use that. They use their own. So that's why that would be, Peter. He said, "What was with security confiscating food from fans? If the NRL and Sharks want to encourage families to come to games, it has to be affordable. There's nothing wrong with parents bringing snacks for their kids. Food costs a bomb from vendors in the ground." So just on that, Josh, do you know anything about that?
No, I mean, I never bring in food, but I haven't heard anything or seen anything besides what Peter's just said then. So
I did hear and see a few people mention it. I don't know if it was happening at every gate and every person and all night long. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just one guy and you got told not to, and maybe a few people were affected. I'm not sure I think the only thing that the club has done in the past is if you bring like maybe Macca's or KFC or some sort of like
Yeah.
product, they kind of go, no, you can't do that. But as far as I knew, like I've brought in like packets of chips and lollies for my kid and stuff, and I'm pretty sure we even brought in like, a sandwich and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's changed or not. Hopefully it hasn't. I guess just get in touch if you experience that, and we'll try and chase it up with someone down at the club. But hopefully that's not happening year round, because that would not be fun. But Peter does say, on the plus side, how good was it to be at Shark Park? My adult son and I attend together. It's one of the greatest joys in my life to share that with him and with 12,000 like-minded people. I love it so much. Up, Peter, mate. That's what it's all
mad.
about.
That's
Forget about the other negativity. That's just focus on being there with your son and with your like-minded friends, because that's what it's about. Josh, our hugs are always more special at Shark Park, and we saw TK and we saw a whole bunch of our crew down there, which was awesome, and that's what it's about. You're right, Peter. It's so good being there. I know that the venue has its detractors. I know half the people on the show, not in present company, definitely not, don't like the state that it's in, but I'm glad you had a good time. Thanks also for being a long-time listener, and thanks for getting in touch. Please don't be a stranger. Steve says, loving the extra pods created so far this year. It's a nice surprise jumping in the car and seeing a new episode available. So we appreciate that. And we encourage everyone to subscribe on your apps so that, like Steve, when the new one is ready, it'll just pop up. You don't have to go looking for it. I'm stoked with how we've started this year, particularly with the back five. The defense commitment from everyone is very promising. We look like a well-gelled team, which is credit to Fitzy and the coaching staff who've stuck strong with this squad. Lastly, on the one percenters, Braden Trindle's reads with opposition fifth tackle and last kicks has been superb. I can think of 4 or 5 times where he's covered offensively, either saved a try or got the ball out of danger to start our set. This guy is an asset, and once we get our attack going, he'll become even more valuable. That's from Steve, the biggest Sharks fan in Penrith. Some love for Braden Trindle, and he's doing really well, right, Josh?
Oh, I'm super impressed with his start to the year. Like, again, same as Nico, the attack is not quite there yet. And there's some bits and pieces to fix, but I just love his attitude and I love his footy IQ. You can tell he's a really smart footballer. He reads things so well because he thinks like a half, right? So when a half comes in to put a kick in behind, he's thinking, in his head, so that's what I do. So he's reading the body sign, the body language, I should say. This defense is really impressive for a small guy. Nearly got that 40-20 on the weekend. I know he kicked it out, and there's some grumblings around me. I'm like, I love that he went for it. He was like a meter off from it being like the perfect kick. We need that.
Yeah, he's so young and so inexperienced. He's not going to have a perfect game week in, week out. If he kicks the ball out in the full once a month, I don't particularly care. He's going for it, as you say. And against some of those teams, you will get one, particularly, the bottom 8 or 9 teams in the comp. You'll find a 40-20. Different Steve says Trindle has been great in defense. Defense structure, everyone is trusting one another. He said Tukes is young and he'll benefit from AFB next year, which is a great point. And the middles are starting to aim up as well as the bench. Important game against the Tigers. The Dogs tried the old Flano tactic of drag the opposition down to their level. It worked for about 40 minutes. The Tigers don't have that, so it'll be ad lib. They don't have a coach that knows tackling. We do the basics right, go through the middle, and the points will come. I agree with you on that, Steve. I think that if we play to our strength, I think this sort of game, like last week, it's more about us than them. They have some weapons, like they have Api Korosai is one of the best hookers in the game, and he was great last week for them. The fullback Buller is really good. He's still pretty green, but he's really good. Aiden Caesar's coming in. We'll talk about it later, but it's not going to be a necessarily easy game. Like they're not going to turn up and just win. They need to grind it out, and then the rest will come. Thanks for being in touch, Steve. Daniel says, can you get Gary Dover to fix the run-on music? Although Kickstart My Heart might not be everyone's favorite, it gets everyone pumped up and it's a tradition now. Nelly did nothing on the weekend. Last time we changed the music was a Cogra, and do we really want to relive those days?
I'm with you,
Oh,
Steve.
I don't know what that's got to do with Cogra, but Daniel, I don't even want you to mention
Oh, it's
Cogra
Daniel.
ever again. That
My
was...
apologies.
remember we were at Cogra for a couple of years? Oh, my God. So Daniel's against Nelly, and he's all for... I think he's all for Motley Crue, at least. He's not happy with the change. So we'll talk to Gary tomorrow and we'll see what he can do. I don't think he can do it, though, just as a heads up. Ashley says, shout out, and thank you also, Daniel, for being in touch. Ashley says, shout out to the membership team. We had a fantastic members bingo night last night. Such an amazing vibe from the club staff, the two Jameses, Giselle, and everyone else. And the players were amazing in giving not just their time, but they were so engaging with their time with the fans. The club really is in a great place. I spoke with BHU, who will be back after the bye. So a bit of breaking news there from Ash, the historian. BHU back after the bye. When's the bye, Josh? Like after the Dragons game or before?
Just keep talking for me and I'll find it.
Tell a joke.
Yeah, what's your best joke?
A priest, a rabbi, and a... No, I don't know.
Round 5.
Round 5.
Yeah. So after the Raiders, we have the bye, and then we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs, round 6.
So he'll be back around 6, we think. And I hope you won bingo, Ash. Hope you cleaned up. I think one of his kids did. I saw a photo and there was jersey upon jersey that he'd won. So that's great stuff. Steve, so we've got a third Steve now, says our defense is winning us games, not our attack. We need to be more variant in attack. The other teams can read us. Try some cross kicks in the air against the flow near the line on the last. What are your thoughts on that, Josh? Do we need to mix it up a bit or just sort of stick to what we know?
I don't think we have to go outside of what we've been doing. I think we've just got to be a little more clinical with what we're trying to do. I think what we're trying to do will work. It's still early in the year, and we've got to give the guys a chance to get their footy on and get their plays going. But yeah, maybe a little crossfield kick. We just don't. Our outside backs aren't particularly tall, so there's not a great reason to kick there when they're probably going to get out jumped.
Yeah. He says, how good is Tuka Haitapua? He should be permanently in the 17. I'm hoping they can keep up the defense and the attack will follow. 2 from 2 heading towards 3 straight up Cronulla. So looking forward to a third win is Steve. Roscoe says, I think Royce Hunt will take his benching as a lesson. So benching last week and then he was injured, so didn't play, but he's back on the bench this week as opposed to starting. He was trying to make too much happen too soon in the game. In saying that his runs were damaging, just may need to focus on rolling the sleeves up and eating those meters. And I think Roscoe's right. I think that Royce will have the fear of God be put into him by the coaching staff, and doesn't mean he can't throw one, but I think he'll know.
Yeah.
Lee said, I loved the post-game tipsy pod is what he's calling it. You should do more. I felt like I was sidelined celebrating a win. So just on that, if you haven't heard, one of the last episodes we did was a post-game episode at Shark Park with Gary Dover. And then we were joined by Dylan Wright, the Australian Idol grand finalist now, and his wife, Georgia. And then so the 4 of us had a really fun chat. And it was, one of the more fun moments I've had in a long time. So I need to thank those 3 individuals for starters. And hopefully everyone enjoyed the episode. He was very happy with the win, and the class became evident towards the end. I feel we'll be underestimated this year, which is where we need to be. I really like Tapua's impact. It's the impact I've always wanted Royce to have. I feel like the Fitzgibbon era has just begun. What do you think, Josh?
I agree on the first of all, that pod was really great, and the Tipsy Pod is a great name for it. Post game Tipsy Pod, I like that.
I have to let everyone know I was exaggerating a little bit. Like we had been drinking, but to be completely perfectly honest, I sounded that way because I was so excited to be in that environment with Dylan and his wife, which was completely ad lib. We did not plan that. We knew he was the ground. We were going to catch up, but that was why that happened. And then, yeah, everyone was around, not watching us, but we were sort of in the middle of everyone leaving, and everyone was high fiving, and it was just kind of fun. And that's why I'd mentioned that I had some beers. But to be honest, I was more happy than drunk, put it that way. But yeah, that's and if you haven't, yeah, if I'm just going to get it out now, Josh. And by the way, as you would have heard, he sends his regards to you.
Yeah, I
Remembers you
heard that.
very,
Yeah.
very kindly. He even knew where you were standing. I don't have the number on me, but if you want to vote for Dylan, there's one more chance to do it on Sunday. It's a grand final, and like he said, he's on his way. If he doesn't win, it doesn't really matter. But if he wins, he's guaranteed a bunch of stuff too. So don't want to get into all the politics of that. But if you want to support a really good artist who is a Sharks fan and a former local resident in the Shire, and just a really good human, send a text. I believe it only costs a text. I could be wrong. My phone bill might be going through the roof. I don't know. Anyway, it was great to have him in the house, and I'm glad Lee enjoyed the episode. Mickey says, "Love the show. Can you find out why there are never any tickets available for junior league players? Junior league players and volunteers are supposed to get one GA ticket per week, but there are never any available at PointsBet Stadium. I've got 4 boys that play, and we haven't been able to access a ticket since construction started. It really hurts when they stick you $42 for a GA and 25 for a kid. Footy playing kids would love to go more often to hook them as lifelong supporters. Just need some play NRL reward tickets available for Shark Park." So, Mickey, I replied to you, but I think the only thing I can imagine is that because there's a limited capacity, a lot of those, I guess, free tickets or however you want to put it, probably have fallen to the wayside because the club probably needs to make the profit and bring in the money through ticket sales as opposed to guests coming in. I think that's the only reason I could think of. If I'm able to chase it up, I will. I don't know if I'll get an answer from anyone, but see what happens. But all I can say is I agree. I think $42 is a bit of a stretch. Is that what it costs, Joshy? $42 for a GA?
I don't know because I haven't bought a ticket in about 10 years. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean, if that's the case, and I've got no reason to doubt Mickey, I'm not doubting Mickey, but I think for Shark Park, I know they're in the habit of making money, like they want to make money, but you'd think $42 for a GA there is a tiny bit of a stretch. I mean,
If it's
I
for
know
seated, maybe, but if it's just like a standing chair, I don't think it would be 42.
right. Well, we need to probably look into that before we comment too much on it. But
Yeah.
I all I can say, Mickey, is it sucks that you don't get those tickets that you used to get. Maybe with the capacity being increased in the coming years by 1,000 or 2, they might be able to stretch it out a bit. So, what I would say, Mickey, is get in touch with the club. Just send the club an email, and someone will hopefully be able to help you out because that's their thing. It's not my thing. But I do appreciate you being in touch and I appreciate your kind words. Michael says, I wanted to advocate what you were talking about last week, the AGM for the 27th of March at Cronulla. Dino always puts on a good presentation. Fitzy's been there in the past. Dino's open to answering questions. So maybe if Mickey's a member, he or she could go and ask about that, actually. Attendance numbers are normally average, but I find the night very informative and we'll want to know how the Leagues Club is progressing. I encourage all members of the Leagues Club and Football Club to attend. This is my favorite bit. Finger food normally available at the end too. That always gets me in, Josh.
The best food.
27th of March. So if you're free and you are entitled as a Leagues Club and Football Club member, then you know what to do. I think this is the last one, and no better way to finish than from our friend Luke down in Melbourne. He says, number one, can we stop being a one-half team? Not so long ago, we'd give up leads and lose games in the second half. This year, 2 games in, we start a bit late and kick into gear in the second. So I think Luke wants to be like a full game team, an 80-minute team, that's not unreasonable. He says, number two, Britt had the one off game a year that I'll allow him to have, and even then he wasn't dreadful. 3, Nico's attack seems blunt, but his defense is immense. So we've talked about that. He's working on that. 4, Wilson. That is all. We've talked about Teague. We're big fans of Teague, and it's great to see him kicking off so well. 5, he says, Mr. Kennedy. And lastly, 6, I need more to Pua. So much more. What a wrecking ball. Up. Yeah, we like all that. Thanks so much for being in touch. Thanks for being such a great supporter of the show. And we hope you're doing well. Josh, we're going to do a short preview discussion about the Tigers before I let you go to bed. But before we do that, we want to talk about Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. Jason's been in the industry for the last 22 years, mainly in the Cronulla and surrounding suburbs. He's grown up in Cronulla, and he knows that his own backyard is the best place to be. His knowledge and understanding of that is second to none. He's a great fella. He's honest, straightforward, professional, and he's a friend of the show. He's a lifelong Sharks fan. He's a personal friend of mine. I've got to know him through the show. We weren't mates before that. He's a really just great person, and he's really good at the real estate. So if you want to get in touch with him, 0410 417 450, 0410 417 450. Tell him that we sent you, and you don't have to even just be ready to buy a house. If you have questions about real estate, whether it's getting ready for it, to buy, to rent, whatever you have, get in touch with him. Be your beautiful, polite selves, of course, and tell him that we sent you. Josh, we've got West Tigers on Saturday night, 7:35 at Leichhardt. Inner West rocking. How good is that? The Inner West. And it's going to be a big crowd. We know what they're like out there at Leichhardt. It'll be, I mean, I know there'll be Sharks fans there, but obviously there'll be a lot of Tigers fans, old school Balmain Tigers fans, you'd think. And it should be a good game. I mean, the Tigers have only played one game. They weren't fantastic. They've made some changes already. And they'll be better for the hit out against Canberra. It's a young team, a young coaching staff. And we've named a pretty good team. Our team is Will Kennedy, Sione Katoa, Jesse Ramian, Sifa Talakai, Ronaldo Mulatalo, Braden Trindle, Nico Hines. Toby Rudolph has been named to start. Blake Brayley, Oregon Kafusi. Now, take a breath, everyone. In number 11, Jack Williams has been named to start. And I've been told by people on the street, so this is not from the club, people from the street, that he will be starting. There won't be any funny buggers with the bench. At this point in time, and anything can happen, but at this point in time, the plan is that he will start as named, so it's not a big surprise. Teague Wilton in 12, Cam McInnes, captain at lock, Dale Finucane, co-captain, immediate bench with Royce Hunt, Billy Burns on debut for the Sharks, and tall Tom Hazelton. 18th man is Kale Iro. On the extended bench, not expected to play at this point in time is Tuku Hatapua, Dan Atkinson, Sam Stone Street, and Jaden Beryl. So that is the big change. Obviously, Nickera suspended, Williams to start, and Billy Burns to make his Sharks debut. What are your thoughts there, Josh?
Firstly, I just want to mention that I got poleaxed by a few people for suggesting that Williams could cover second row this year.
Really?
It's good to know the coach is thinking the same way as me. So cop that. Secondly, I'm glad that he did do it. I know every single Sharks fan seem to think that playing Billy Burns there is a terrible idea. Look, he's not the best player in the world, but you can't go around changing the entire size dynamic for 2 weeks against two respectfully weaker sides, in my opinion. It's not going to break the side. It's not going to break the team. But what can break the team in is if you put Talakai there on the other side where he hasn't played in about 3 years to play a different position, to bring in a guy who's played one game, to completely change basically both edges defensively.
Yeah.
For the sake of, it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, is what I keep saying. So I think it's a smart decision. It's the least disruption. Williams can play there. He has played there before. He will play there again in the future. He's one of our fittest dudes. He's quite good as well. I know we will miss him coming off the bench through the middle, but it's the least disruption and it's 2 games. So I beg everyone to please relax and also give Billy Burns a chance.
Yeah, that's probably my takeaway from what you just said, and having some common sense thinking about it, which I don't always have. But Billy Burns was bought to do a job, and this is the job he was bought to do, to be the backup. He's the next in line in the second row. And I know when I say that Jack Williams has got the job, but obviously Billy will come on and replace him. So that's what he's brought to do. He's played, I think, 35, 40 NRL games. He's been in the Penrith system, spent some time at the Drags. He's now at a really good club with Cronulla. These guys tend to lift when they're surrounded by good structures and good players. He's been with the club, I think, since January, maybe earlier. I think since January, though. And let's, A, give him a chance, as Josh said, and B, I am of the belief, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I hope I'm not wrong. But if the Sharks were to lose on Saturday night, I'm of the belief it wouldn't necessarily be one person's fault, let alone Billy Burns' fault. So let's see what he can bring to the table. He's coming off the bench at this stage, and that may change, but at this stage, he's coming off the bench. Jack Williams is a fantastic player. He doesn't have a handling problem, and he's a beast. Now, you don't necessarily want your beasts playing a couple of men in on the edge, but having said that, he's done it before, and he's fit enough to get the job done. He's in a good system. It's not going to fall apart. So will he be tested down there? Probably. But it's up to him and the team around him to get the job done. This team is very much, and it's the biggest cliche in sport, but this team is very much next man up. And we've seen it with Fitzgibbon. We've seen Mawini Harati be man of the match in Perth against South Sydney.
Yes.
Like, things happen under this coaching system. And I mean, I never would have thought Billy Burns would get so many headlines and mentions, and
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's just a hard-working player is what he is, and that's exactly what they bought, and that's exactly what you're going to get. He hasn't lit up the Jets for the 2 games he's played. He scored a try in each match, I believe. He's busy, he's hardworking, and we'll see what happens on the weekend with him. We'll see how many minutes he gets. But that's the team they're going with. What I like about it, Josh, is it's the coach and the coaching staff saying, no, we're not going to change it all. This is the plan. The plan is Billy Burns was bought specifically for the second row when one of our guys goes down, and he can play other positions as well. If they didn't want him, they wouldn't have bought him. It's as simple as that. So I'm with you. Let's give the guy a go. And if it all falls apart, we'll rip him apart next week. Don't
Yeah,
worry about
exactly.
that. No. So West Tigers, Aiden Caesar comes in and plays halfback. Josh, his last game in the NRL was in the 2019 Grand Final. So
Besides last week.
Besides last week off the bench, let me just put an asterisk next to that. His last starting game, thank you for that. His last starting game was the 2019 Grand Final. So he has been named at halfback, and Jaden Sullivan's gone to 14. Justin Olam makes his debut for the West Tigers in the centres, and I think he's a player that's, definitely got some pros. He's got some cons as well, which I hope we kind of target, but he's you don't want him to running at you 10 meters out from the try line,
He's made of granite.
Yes, he's a tough cookie. So that'll be interesting seeing what he does for the West Tigers. And it's a pretty serviceable forward pack. I mean, you got Big Stefano, Coruscant, and Clemmer as the front row. There's nothing wrong with that. Your back row is Isaiah Papali'i, who's on his day quite skillful. John Bateman, speaking of guys baiting people, John Bateman, he'll be out there going for it. And Pole at lock. So it's not a bad forward pack at all. Quite a different looking forward pack. They all sort of bring something different to the table. You've got your Seafasts, your 12s on the bench. So it's a winnable game. We should be winning it. But there are some signs there that it won't be the easiest walk in the park. But then there's other things like I'd be running at Junior Tapau all day down his edge, and I'd be targeting the young 5'8" as well. Like, he looked good last week, but I'd be targeting him, and
he will be very good in about 3 years. He'll be really good.
Absolutely. And I think the whole thing about, Benji can't coach is just utterly ridiculous at this moment after one game. Like, I know he sort of said some controversial things or whatever, but he's in the Billy Burns category. Let's just give him a chance, because he might, it's not the first time he's pulled down our pants. Like, we've been there and seen him done all sorts of things to us. Let's see what Benji can do. But I do think we'll win. I'm looking forward to another win. I think at the moment, I might change my mind, but at the moment we will probably win by, I don't know, 10 to 12 points. I don't think it'll be a smacking by any means, but looking forward to it. I mean, Leichhardt, they lift. They had that amazing win against the Cowboys last year, which came out of nowhere. I think it was their biggest score ever there, and one of their record scores. I think they scored 66 points or something. So
yeah, something crazy.
So that place can do things, It's like their Shark Park at our best. So, having said that, a number of Sharks fans going up there will bring a bit of attitude and a bit of environment to the ground as well, which we always do. What are your thoughts on the game, Josh?
The main thing I'm looking for here is I want us to be a bit more dominant with the forwards, and specifically coming out of our own end. If I have one criticism of the side at the moment, I think the last 2 weeks we've really struggled to get out of our own end. We've been really stoic, and gritty, but we haven't really been able to get out of there on our own. So I'm looking for a forward dominant performance and controlling where the ball is in the game, down their end, obviously. And I'd like to see some points. I'd like to see us throw the ball around, not without, consideration, but
yeah,
I want us to let it sing a little bit. I want us to put some players on. I want to get some points and really, really dominate them from minute 1 to minute 80. That's what I'm looking for. What about you? Anything you want to see from the team specifically?
I kind of my favorite performances of the Sharks in the Fitzgibbon era, I always go back to a couple of those Dragons games from his first year where we just really controlled the game for a long time. We didn't let him in at all. That's the sort of game I want to play against these teams. And I think I saw it last week against the Bulldogs. So at no point did I really think, like, it got a bit hairy with 12 man, but at no point did I think we were going to lose. And I think against the Tigers, with all respect, everything we just said about them, I think that we can dominate them. But to me, domination isn't like 36-0. It's more 12, 18-0 at halftime, and then we win by 12 or 14 points. Maybe they score a try at the end. I don't know. But to me, it's just that never letting them have a chance to get even close to winning the game. That's what I want to see. And then when you play the bigger teams, of course, it won't be that easy. So they're the games I really enjoy. And I think they're the games where, our kicking game's great and our defense is great. I think with Jack Williams starting, we might be able to get some more meters if he can get involved.
Sure.
Obviously makes more meters than a Britain does anyway. So we are going to lose Britain, though, with the attack. He brings a lot with him without the ball. So I hope that we see something different, maybe something to cover that, something in addition. And yeah, I just want to see a controlled performance. I'm not really into close games against these sort of teams. The Warriors game, yeah, okay, we were down, we came back. I understand they're a good team. I think against these lesser teams, even when we play the Dragons, in the derby, I just think that we need to really own these games. I don't think we should be just getting across the line. And if we win 8-0, I think that's okay. But don't ever let them get within 6 points, I think is my kind of motto. If they score, you got to be next to score. Don't let them get any kind of sniff. We've seen it Leichhardt games in the past where you give them a chance and they get into the game, and it's a hard place to kind of win that back. But I do think we'll be fine, Josh. I think that we'll get the points, and at this point of the year, you just want the points and no injuries, really, and you move on. Like it's no use holding on the last week. Like we've got, we had the Warriors game. It was fantastic. It was one of the best wins in 10 years or whatever. But that's done. Like it's gone. Dogs game's gone. It's all about this week. And then at 9:30 on Saturday, it becomes about Canberra the week after. It's business, It's what I was saying before about no excuses. Tom Petty won't back down. It's just business. Let's do it. Like let's step it up a notch. And we're having a really good year so far. It's only 2 weeks in. It could all fall apart, but I'm loving it. I just think it's such a positive experience being a Sharks fan right now. And the great thing is, one of our listeners wrote to us and said, no one's even really talking about us. So we're getting mentioned here or there. Oh, you're defending a bit better and da da da. It's all about Souths falling apart. It's all about can Penrith do the 4P? It's all whatever, Benji. And that's fine. Benji, look, I don't really care at this point. Like I don't need to see our guys on TV or whatever. It's fine. Like we know they're getting better week in, week out. And to be fair, it's up to us to kind of prove to those people, because we have fallen short a bit in the last few years. So, looking forward to it though, Josh. Thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Happy to do it anytime.
And thanks to all of our listeners. If you're watching this and it's a bit shonky, we apologize. We're just hitting record and see what happens. So I'm sure we'll get better at this stuff as well. In the old days, Josh, when we had SharkCast TV, which many of our listeners will remember, we had producer and camera people and all sorts of people helping out. And it was nothing like this. It was a lot more in depth, and there were times that I appreciate, especially now, because like people are like, do some video. It's like, yeah, we'll do some video, and hit record and get a fancy sign in the back or whatever. You get dressed. And that's kind of what we do. So anyway, we appreciate everyone for being in touch, always being in touch. We'll always get back to you. Thanks to all the people that we met at the ground. It's always good saying hello to the listeners, and we'll see you out and about, I'm sure, at a game soon. And I'll wind it up. SharkCast Pod back for another episode when we can. Quick shout out to our friend Dylan on Australian Idol. We know he's listening. And we congratulate you on making the grand final. So good luck in that. And have a great week, everyone. Enjoy the game. If we don't speak to you before then, I think we will, though, just as a heads up. This has been SharkCast Pod. This has been the longest outro ever. Josh wants to get undressed, and we'll let him go do that. Thanks, everyone. Up, Cronulla.